Jim Kessler, Wetline, I'm Chuck Hanna, and I've got to leave here early. I've got a little bit, so I stuck my hand up real quick. I know you commissioners, city manager, are tired of hearing about the recreation building and their problems with heat, water temperatures, air conditioning, and so forth. But I'm here, and I know that you've turned that over, and after these years, I'm real glad to see that you have worked out a deal, and they've going to get a little more money, but they don't have the money now. Their air conditioning situation, you read about it in the paper, they talk about the swimming pool and arthritic swimming, and that's important to people. But there's also the workout equipment upstairs. There's a lot of people work out up there. There's a lot of people walk the track. There's people that use the gymnasium. And if they don't get that fixed before summer, and I don't think they will, it's my understanding. Now, if I'm wrong and you tell me they're going to start, Kevin may know right away. But the last time I talked to Lee Barron, or not Lee Barron, Tom McElroy, they won't have the money till fall. City owns that building. They're not responsible for it now. But why couldn't the city not loan them the money, but do the project with a firm agreement? They'll pay it back just as soon as they get that money. You know they're going to get the money from the taxes. But anyway, I just throw out a little new thinking on that. But frankly, if you go up there to work out and it's 78 to 80 degrees, which it's already been a lot this spring, and all they tell you is, well, the air conditioning equipment should have been replaced 15 years ago. You can't get parts for it. We've had various people in, can't get it done. They have no answer other than it's going to be hot. So I won't be here most of the summer sweating it out because I'm going to be where it's cooler. But I sympathize for the other people, and there's the rest of the spring. So if I'm out of order, okay, but that's a suggestion. It's my suggestion.
Well, and you're right, Chuck, that would be my cup of tea, because I represent the city commission over on the rec center board.
Right.
I've been on the rec center board for many years, along with the school board, before I became a commissioner. And money was and still is, but thanks to the school district allowing a pass-through of another 4 mills, some of that, we have a brighter future than we ever have over at the rec center. To answer your question directly on the air conditioning, from what I recall, it wasn't a money necessary issue. It was the fact of a timing issue of it would have to disturb the whole building by changing out the particular air AC unit. And there's like 4 or 5, and maybe you might even know, Jim, your company's worked on it some, but there's 4 or 5 at least major air conditioning units up there that deal with different parts of that building. But they were going to try to consolidate some of that and have a plan to make it better as a whole. And I know that was one of the concerns, is if they started with that, it may be, you know, a 30-day process to where the whole building maybe didn't have air conditioning, and it would interrupt the whole thing. So I can look into that more and ask more questions for you. That's a good suggestion. Maybe the city, because the city has partnered with the rec center many times over the past several years as far as doing that, and it still is, you know, city property, because the rec center, if you all don't know, can't own property. So the city has to lease it back, is basically what's been done. It is a good thing that we do have that funding source now. We're discussing, you know, the ball fields, which we all know there hasn't been much done with them for many years in Emporia. As well as, you know, there's even talk of down the road, you know, that rec center's 35 years old. It's been added on to a couple different times. You mentioned the pool. We just talked to an older group that came in to the meeting and discussed how they're upset about how the water temperature, the swimmers want the water at 81, the therapy people want the pool at 92 or 3, and it was basically built to be a swimming pool. and maybe not even a lap pool, like, you know, the swimmers, you know, need to get extra practice and want to use it for. So the thing's being pulled all different directions, and it's, you know, 30 years old and 30-plus years old, and it may be time for, you know, down the road for discussions as a city as a whole. Do we want a new rec facility at some point in time? And that's why I told them to slow down on, they want to remodel and move the exercise equipment, for example, down to the lower area, and, you know, knock out some walls and make it a glass front and do some stuff like that, from what I've heard that the staff wants to do. But do you do that necessarily to a 35-year-old building, where you can maybe go build a more efficient, you know, you build something that, you know, we have an aging population, and Emporia's no different, that, you know, you can do some of the therapeutic things as well as you can do things that are new to make the kids come use the rec center more. So, you know, that we have trouble having enough stuff for our kids to do at certain points in time throughout the year to keep them out of trouble. So, you know, a new rec center may help that as well. And, you know, that's something for the city as a whole to decide, because it's probably gonna, you know, take a little bond money, and the aquatic center doesn't pay off until 2014. And once that's done, we may have to have a discussion of, you know, is it time to, you know, look at, you know, something new and modern to, you know, help the citizens of Emporia quality of life issues. So, I'll address, you know, that's bigger than what you probably wanted to go, but I kind of wanted to lay that out on the table for food for thought for the citizens.
And I know you've got a lot more problems with the rec center, and hopefully with the new money they will be getting, you won't be hearing about this. But I had to make that one last suggestion, because it's getting to be summer and something needs to be done.
Yeah, and you know,
if there's any way to work it out, power to you. If not,
yeah, and I'll ask again
We'll
and see, and if it needs to come back, then have some discussions as a commission to see if it's something we could address immediately and help them out. But I think there was more than just a funding issue that was connected with that. But I appreciate your concern and your question today.